Hurricane Florence is starting to make its way onshore in North Carolina. We'll have the latest on that and how that storm will impact our weather.
And while hundreds of people are evacuating to South Florida, some are flying closer to the storm. We are monitoring flights to and from North Carolina this morning.
And Hurricane Florence bringing some indirect impacts to South Florida. The warning before you head out to the beach.
It's a lot to get to, and we have you covered from all angles with our team coverage and your weather every 5 minutes.
I'm Mike Trim with Ashley Walters. Glenn, he has an update from Florence while you were sleeping. A new check of your local forecast as well. Glenn?
All right, let's take a look at it here. Florence starting to move very close now to the coast of North Carolina. Landfall in North Carolina is very likely at this point late tonight and early tomorrow morning, but the outer bands of the storm already beginning to reach the coast. You see those rain bands stretching in there. There's also a tornado threat as those bands move onshore. There's Wilmington there and Kinston there. So you can see that rainfall starting to push on in. Locally, unrelated to Florence, we've got a few showers around this morning. We've got a couple showers that have moved through Boca already. One around Century Village there in Boca right now. Hour by hour, we're looking at temperatures that will make their way up into the mid-80s by about 10 o'clock this morning. The chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms will pick up along the coast late this morning into the early afternoon. And I'll show you that in Vipercast. But here's the latest track for Florence from the Hurricane Center. Winds at 110, so it's technically a Category 2, but has wind gusts up to Category 3, which is 111 miles per hour or higher. Moving northwest at 15 miles per hour. Expected at this point to make landfall as a Category 2 late tonight or early tomorrow in North Carolina. Then move into South Carolina as a Category 1 hurricane, weakening slowly to a tropical storm as it moves through South Carolina, and then eventually a tropical depression moving off to the north and maybe back out into the ocean where it regenerates again back into a tropical storm. So we'll have to see if that happens by the middle of next week. We'll have more on Florence, but we'll also have your city-by-city forecast coming up in 5 minutes.
On a live look right now, we do have one fender bender this morning. It happened around 3:30. The tow truck now on scene. This is for those of you coming off the turnpike if you're heading east to Military Trail or Haverhill. This is this crash right here. It's right in front of the Lexus dealership. We've got eastbound traffic flowing through, also westbound traffic. Let's go to maps real quickly. I want to kind of show you a little bit more of this. Again, one eastbound lane is blocked in this direction, so you can chance it. We don't have a lot of traffic right now. You'll be fine. If you want to avoid it altogether, I would suggest when you come off the turnpike, go west, take Drexel Road. It's right here, this yellow line there, and you can take that all the way to Belvedere and then head east. Other than that, not too shabby this morning. The drive overall looks pretty good. Let's check in on our friends in Fort Pierce, I-95, Orange Avenue. Hey, Johan, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Holly. Good morning, everybody. We're in the Boca Raton, Boynton Beach, Boca Raton area along I-95. Pilot Josh and myself here. Zooming in, there's Delray Beach to the top right, and zooming in onto Woolbright in the Boynton Beach area. You can see headlights. That is the northbound flow. We're not doing too bad through the Palm Beaches and Treasure Coast, and also Treasure Coast Turnpike all the way into Boca Raton. A-OK, side streets up to speed, so let's get out and make it a great day. That's how it looks up here in Chopper 5. I'm Johan Hoffert. Back to you.
Right now, let's go ahead and take a live look at Wilmington, North Carolina. You can see it's obviously still dark there. This is a look at the pier over the ocean. We did see hurricane warning flags flying in the wind. People there say they have felt some wind and rain so far, but this is just the beginning of what that area will start to experience later this morning as outer bands of Hurricane Florence start to move in. Much of the southeast is just shut down right now. Most people who live along the shoreline have moved out. Coastal communities from Virginia through the Carolinas are, for the most part, empty. Signs of what's to come are written on boarded up windows here, and sandbags, they are stacked up at people's doors to try and block that flooding rain.
Some people are heading to South Florida to escape Florence. Others traveling closer. There are still some flights planned to and from Charlotte this morning.
WPTV News Channel 5's Hani Rodriguez is live at Palm Beach International Airport. And Hani, how is it looking for those people with travel plans in that direction?
Hey, Ashley, well, the good news is that they're not actually staying in Charlotte. A lot of those folks are actually just catching a connecting flight, and that American Airlines flight that is scheduled to leave at 6:16 is still on time, so those folks should already be boarding on their plane or very close to it right now. The airport is still pretty packed. Folks are flying all over the place. Considering the storm is headed there, you might think, you know, not such a great idea, but as I mentioned, a lot of those folks are just hoping to catch those connecting flights just in time before Florence is in Charlotte.
little bit, but apparently it's supposed to come later, so I'll hopefully be able to get my connecting flight to DC. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Remember, you can check your flight status by going to the traffic section on our WPTV.com website. There's also a flight coming in from Charlotte arriving here at 9:15 in the morning or so. We're going to talk to those folks and get back to you guys with a little more later on. For now, reporting live, I'm Hani Rodriguez, WPTV News Channel 5.
So emergency officials in our state on their way to the Carolinas this morning. There's task forces from both Miami-Dade and Pasco County going there. The city of Miami also sent a 2-team task force to South Carolina yesterday. One of the groups will head up to prepare for the storm as it makes landfall. Now, as millions brace for Florence's wrath, we know that many of you want to stay in touch with those loved ones on the East Coast, up and down the Carolinas, even Virginia. To help, though, major cell phone companies are setting up command centers, sending equipment, supplies, and even staff. Companies suggest sending texts. They are more likely to go through. Also, if you do call someone impacted, try to keep that call short. Ashley?
Well, Hurricane Florence's core is far from South Florida, but we are still expecting some indirect impacts. Today and tomorrow, the rip currents could be an issue in parts of Palm Beach County and the Treasure Coast. County leaders say the swells could cause beach erosion. Conditions are expected to improve by this weekend. And just a reminder here, the Sebastian Pier is currently closed due to the high waves from the hurricane. It's expected to open at 3 o'clock this afternoon if it passes a safety inspection.
Storms canceled the University of Central Florida game against North Carolina. The UCF Knights say they don't have an open date where they can make it up, so it's probably not going to be played this season. Tickets will be refunded. All right, let's get to all things weather locally and Florence right now, every 5 minutes with Glenn Glazer.
All right, let's take a look at it. We'll go city by city to Stewart this morning, where we're looking at a temperature right now of right around 79 degrees. We'll get up to around 90 in Stewart today. It will be a hot day, a humid day. We'll see plenty of sunshine, but there's a chance for some rainfall first along the coast, especially late morning into the early afternoon, and then farther inland later this afternoon. And only light winds today coming in out of the southeast, so not too much relief from the heat. More weather in 5 minutes.
All right, we have live team coverage for the storm all morning. The Today Show, tracking Florence live in North Carolina. That happens right after our show today on 5. That's in less than an hour. Ashley?
Well, this morning we are getting some new insight into the case against a Largo mother. Sharice Stinson is accused of killing her 2-year-old son, Jordan Beliveau. In new audio recordings, Stinson begged the court for custody of him. He was with his foster parents after he was exposed to drugs, guns, and violence. Now, we've learned Stinson met with a caseworker the night before Jordan's death. Documents say the caseworker warned her about violating the court order. DCF says there is now an investigation into how it handled this case.
Today, the House could be making a big move when it comes to algae on the Treasure Coast. Representatives, they could pass a bill that would authorize a new reservoir for Lake Okeechobee. Once built, it would send some of those harmful discharges from Lake O, many blame, for the algae disaster south. If the bill passes today, it would then move on to the Senate. Right now at 6:07, and Congressman Brian Mast will also testify before a congressional committee today, trying to push a new veterans bill through Congress. It would make it easier for elected officials to open up their congressional offices inside VA facilities. Congressman Mast is up for re-election, became the first to do so. His opponent, Lauren Baer, says she plans to push back against efforts to privatize the VA and ensure veterans have access to high-quality medical care.
Well, this Sunday marks a year since Hurricane Maria ravaged Puerto Rico, and this storm killed thousands of people. Some people there are still struggling with the aftermath. President Donald Trump tweeted out the administration did an unappreciated great job after the storm, and others disagree.
You did not do a good job in Puerto Rico. If he thinks that 3,000 people dying on his watch is a good news story or is an unsung success,
well, just recently, 20,000 pallets of water that were sent to Puerto Rico were discovered unused on a runway. FEMA officials say they've made some changes to procedures in the years since Hurricane Maria. Hey, Glenn.
Good morning. All right, let's take a quick look at what's happening right now. Florence, obviously the big story as it begins to make landfall this morning along the North Carolina coast. Landfall, of course, officially occurs once the eye moves over land, once the center of the storm moves over land. So until then, it's making landfall, or you could say it's a landfalling hurricane. But the outer bands are pushing in right now, and so we're starting to see some of that sweeping rainfall. Winds are starting to pick up all along the coast of North Carolina. Computer models in very good agreement that it's moving in toward the southern North Carolina coast and then makes a sweep down into South Carolina. Expected to stay a Category 2 hurricane at this point, but that could still fluctuate a little bit. It's just on the cusp of being a Category 3 storm, 1 mile per hour away from being a Cat 3. So it's a very powerful hurricane, but expected to make landfall as a Category 2 storm by late tonight, early tomorrow morning, edge its way down the coast into South Carolina, slowly weakening to a Category 1 and then eventually into a tropical storm. Can we take down the weather ticker down here at the bottom? So there we go. So there's Saturday at 2 a.m. and you can see this line right here. So it doesn't move that much over a 24-hour period from Friday 2 a.m. as a Category 2 to Saturday 2 a.m. as a tropical storm. And then it moves inland through South Carolina and then off to the northeast there, where it could go back out over the ocean and become a tropical storm again after falling completely apart over land. Here's a look at what's going on with the timing here. And in the purple, this is when we can see tropical storm conditions. So by 8 o'clock this morning, tropical storm conditions moving in around the North Carolina and South Carolina coasts, and then just moves inland from there. We've got a lot to talk about with Florence, obviously, but we've got a lot going on in our local weather, including changes to the weekend forecast. Your hour-by-hour forecast is 5 minutes away.
Let's take you on a drive this morning. Looking pretty good if you are heading south from the Treasure Coast into the Palm Beach County area. Here you go, Okeechobee Road to Okeechobee Boulevard, about 50 minutes. The Turnpike also in action, Beeline to Boynton, about 16 minutes.
All right, if there's any silver lining here out of Florence, you might not see a spike in gas prices that we typically do after a hurricane. The analyst at Gas Buddy said probably won't happen after Florence makes landfall. It says many refineries are already out of the path of the hurricane. Prices could fluctuate a little bit, but Gas Buddy predicts they would fall due to the lower demand in the last part of the year. Of course, you can find the best gas prices in your neighborhood. Head to our traffic section on our website, WPTV.com.
6:11 right now. Why Amazon is facing harsh criticism for a critical decision ahead of Hurricane Florence.
Plus how one of the world's fastest runners was able to defy gravity. Must-see video after the break.